you ever noticed that we always look up to a father? Have you ever noticed that? We need fathers. We definitely need fathers. For young boys, young girls, we need fathers. Problem is, today's society, we don't have many fathers. Lots of single mothers, no fathers. Fathers out of the picture, or paying child support, seeing their children every weekend or every other weekend, or every other weekend, or once a year, or never. Why is this? So, greatly encourage you guys to watch my video, Devaluing Men. In that video, I state that I come to the logical conclusion that it is beneficial for the states to replace the man. Get the man out of there. Women don't need men. And replace the man with the state. And the state will take care of the woman and the child. But barely skim by. No prosperity, no father figure. Things that a child needs is a father. A father is such a great influence on a child. Specifically, the real father, not the stepfather. Stepfathers can be very, very beneficial to replace that father figure, and that would be like a last resort, I would tell you, if you cannot have that father figure in there. Father dies, father, was a piece of shit, like a legit one, a woman beater, something like that, a drug addict, doesn't care about his children, something like that, then get him out of there. Replace him with a good father figure. But the reason why the original father is so important is because they share the same genetics as the children. Able to have a deeper bond with the child because they have the same blood. Trust me, when a father has a child, that's their life. For the most part. Most fathers, I would say this. And statistically proven, of course, I've showed you guys this in my Message to Women video about single motherhood. I gave you guys some statistics. Boys are more likely to be incarcerated by, in their adulthood or even in their adolescent years, teenage years, because of bad behavior and stuff like that. And you need a father around in order to control this, in order to motivate and teach and provide and be a good inspiration to who you should be to the boy. Young girls without a father, they tend to ovulate much younger, and they tend to have more instances of teenage pregnancies and other ways to destroy their life. Now, they ovulate at a much younger age, like even 10, 11 years old, because, well, there's no father figure. So in her DNA, in her genetics, in a tribal scenario, this would be life-threatening to the genes. This would be a huge threat to the genes. So you need to get a child right away. It's the same thing like when a man is about to die, they get horny, they need to fuck before they die. Like if they're going down in an airplane and they know they're gonna die, they're gonna want to rape and do some crazy shit they would never do because there's something built in them that needs to recreate. So genetics are extremely important. So they need to pass on the genes. The whole purpose of life is to pass on your genes. Your genes, not just the genes of another human. Your genes. And there's something built in you that is more important than anything else. So as a father, you would want to take care of your genes naturally. It would take a lot of unnatural things and occurrences and circumstances and environment to change that. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up the father figure is because the state has taken that out. So it's taking out the whole aspect of the duality, yin and yang. women have a purpose in raising their children. So do men. And men need to understand this. They're extremely, extremely important in this. And so, when we're actually diving into the aspects of the need for a man, we need to understand what else would be the reasoning why men shouldn't be in the equation to control the masses. Well, when the state's controlling the child, they are contributing to a control structure. So they are being indoctrinated as opposed to being helped the way through the father figure. If the father figure's at work and taking care and going above and beyond to provide resources and a better life for their children, the woman staying home, breastfeeding, taking care of the child, there's a much better aspect to life in this paradigm. That's why I always encourage traditional relationships. That's why I made that message to women video before I'm even going to make the message to men video. Because that message to women video implies what is best, rather than being diluted with the society, diluted with the indoctrination, diluted with feminism and equal rights. Because women have had equal rights for 100 years now. There's nothing left to accomplish other than to have more rights and privileges which devastate men and get men out of the equation. And when men are out of the equation, there is nothing to provide value in the long term that the state can't provide in their eyes. Now, I'm not saying that all women are deluded to this. There's a lot of women that want a decent man to be prosperous and take care of her and to have a great upbringing for their children. There are women out there. There's tons of women out there like that. And I want to encourage that because that is the happiest form of life for women. The most scariest form of life for women, to me, is middle age. You hit 40, 45, 50. You're single. You have 10 too many kids. And you never got married. You cared more about your career. Why? Why should you care more about your career than having a child? To having a great husband? Why? Because it's a delusion. That's the truth. Now, am I trying to say to all women right now, don't get a career? No, I'm not saying that. But there's a time and place that is going to better you to have a career. And that would be later on in life. Because nothing hurts more than when you start getting older in age and you realize you don't have any children that are going to take care of you. That you don't have a man to take care of you when you're sick. You don't have anyone to take care of you. And my biggest fear in life, this is my biggest fear, not having children and being at old age with no one to take care of me. That's my biggest fear in life. I don't care if I die tomorrow. That's much less of a fear to me than to be old and being sad because I don't have someone to love me or to love my children or even to have children. That scares me more than anything. Now, this is because I've flirted with death. I've been on the brink of death. I've been on my deathbed, let's just say, and I survived. I was able to reclaim consciousness. And I realized, because a lot of people need a near-death experience to realize this, because that's when you're going to realize it. You want to realize this information now, or when you're approaching your death. And you realize, wow, my genes aren't going to pass on. Wow, my children aren't going to have a better life. They're not going to be prosperous because they don't know how, because they were never shown how. They were only shown how to be a corporate slave through the system that is corporate slavery today. That is evident to anybody who can think outside the box. Now, the great thing about my channel is because I evaluate this stuff. This is not something that spurs out of my mind on random occurrences. This is something that I think about often. Like I said, that's my biggest fear, to be that old man who doesn't have anyone to love. No one to love me. No one to take care of me when I'm old. That's a scary freaking thing. I remember Bill Burr once said that his biggest fear was to be that 70-year-old guy in an upstairs apartment hitting the ground saying, "You fucking kids, turn down the music." He doesn't want to be that guy. It's very similar to my fear. This is a similar fear for most men. And like I told you guys about the airplane going down, and that men go to the point of even rape to pass on their genes, possibly pass on their genes when confronted with their genes dying off right there. That's how important this is. It goes above and beyond what you feel. It goes above and beyond your comprehension. It is so deep and vast, you have no control over it. It is that important to pass on your genes. And you get rewarded when you do so. You get rewarded because those genes that you pass on and you have children, are more important than you. Because that's the next step. And you want to take care of that next step, because that next step is going to help take care of the next generation, and so on. In the Bible, it talks about don't let your semen touch the ground, have sex with pretty much as many wives as possible, like spread your seed. It talks about this stuff. But it also talks about no sex outside of marriage, but marry multiple women. I don't know. But the point is, go and spread your seed. And take care of your children. Divorce is frowned upon in Christianity. Why? Because they understand. They understand that you are not going to be raised properly, which is going to disconnect you from reality and nature and spirituality. And oneness. And it's going to be devastating to the next generation. Now, the baby boomers, which would be my mom's generation, started this new age of single motherhood. Like, this became more prevalent nowadays than ever before. I know so many single mothers, and I know so little duality in relationships and raising their children. Very little. That's sad to me. This means that the next generation is going to be worse. Then the next generation is going to be worse. However, we can put a stop to this. I've said this before. I know a guy that's a drunk. He had a child, not a drunk. Why? Because she saw what he was about. Now, there could have been something in her genetics saying, I want to party and drink all the time. But no. She went to college. She took care of herself. She's doing well with her career, because that's what she chose to do, and she got indoctrinated with the liberal agenda, I guess. But the point is, she made a conscious decision, seeing the devastation it has done to her father. So she made that act of change. What I'm doing to you right now is explaining the devastation of single motherhood, kids growing up without fathers, so that you can actively make that change. So the generations behind don't get left behind for the state to mingle with and control as they please. So that the future generations are more intelligent. So that more intelligent people of higher IQ, pass on their genes. Because what is going on right now is the dumber people are breeding more. And single motherhood is at an all-time high. No fathers. So we can make that active change and put this in its tracks. Stop it right here and there. Right here and now, sorry. Or we can just pretend nothing's going on. Never opening your eyes, never noticing, don't seem to care. Or something that is above you. The most important thing in life is to create more life and to better that life and take care of that life. Make sure that that life form is successful and it's in your genes. It's the most important thing in life. Most important. And if you disconnect the genes, it's going to be devastating on the child. Because the child's going to be raised by the state. The state does not have that child's best interest at heart. Trust me. We can dive in that all day. Just watch any of my content in the past. The state does not have your best interest. The state is extremely immoral, unjust, and devastating to every generation that has ever walked the earth. So, what are you going to do? You're going to make better decisions? Remember 5th grade health class? If you're a woman, you know how to have sex and what happens as a consequence from having sexual interactions with a man. So when you have a child, well, pick the right man. Make sure that man's going to stick around. Have a conversation with that man. Talk to him about the statistics. Talk to him about everything that's going to happen. And make sure he's not just trying to get a piece of pussy. Because if he's just trying to get a piece of pussy, that's not a man that's going to raise your kid. Every man wants pussy. But not every man should just want just a piece of pussy. So have these conversations. Talk. Make sure the man is going to be there to take care of you. Take care of their children. Go above and beyond. What are you doing to provide value in the relationship? Making sure that he stays. Instead of bitching and arguing and trading him for the state. Fathers are needed. Fathers need to be put back into the relationship. And yes, there are some shitty men out there. There's many of them. Pick you a good one. That's enough for this video. Stay tuned for more content. I got countless content coming soon. See ya.